Kabbalistic secret of the universe. Okay, I found it. I knew this before I found it, but I found it. That is very important. You know, you have to know, if you have ideas, they have to fit in line with your general understanding of Torah, obviously. But since you don't know the whole Torah, I don't know the whole Torah. Good morning. Since you don't know the whole Torah, it's always good to have a source. So I had an experience in a Shita. Good morning, everyone. I had a Shita. I've been living with it for about 9-10 months, like to the extreme. Good morning. And I found a source and a desire for it. When I find Torah, that to me is a gift from Hashem. Thank you, Hashem, for the gift of finding a source for something that I knew. The secret of the universe. It also is going to relate to the topic, master of the home. Actually, I don't know if it will, because unless it's open on my iPad right now, I'm probably not going to be able to wire my iPad to the internet right now. That will take me away from what my MO is. But let's see. No, well, yeah, here it is. Oh, yes, I think this is it. Nah, I don't know. I'm not going to be able to find it. I have other things to talk about. Master of the home. I remember it anyways. I think it's in the Alter Rebbe's teaching that to know yourself means to find mastery of your home. It's the beginning of a Veda, he says, is to know yourself, know what drives you. Okay, I've also been speaking about that in length. So this is not the secret of the Kabbalistic secret of the universe that I want to talk about. But this is the foundation of a Veda, is know thyself. Elul is the time for that self-reflection. I know that sounds like a big burden, right? But it's not, actually, because knowledge of self, people are social by nature, right? They love to be around people. They love to talk. They don't like to be alone. But there's value in having some alone time to be able to be in touch with yourself, because then the thing that you care about, which is your relationships, are going to be more, you're going to affect the way you interact with people. For a simple reason, you're going to know what drives you, and knowing those things that drive you, if they conflict with your value system, you have at least the opportunity to choose the right pathways. So I wrote a haiku this morning. It goes like this. Good morning. It goes, clear pathway, a bird flies over shoulder. Okay, it's very simple, very minimalist. But I wanted to get the image of a guy walking down a path, and he sees over his shoulder. He notices that there's a bird overhead, over his shoulder. And it's supposed to give you the image of the fact that you are not alone. Okay, besides the fact that you have a relationship with God, which is kind of important, good morning. Besides the fact that you have a relationship with God, okay, besides that, which is a very general Avodas Hashem, but there are spiritual powers and energies available to us to be able to motivate our service of God. Usually that comes in the form of hispaininus, meditation or contemplation, which to the point of living in a certain mindset. The point of meditation is not to be in a state and then leave it, but rather drawn that to affect your entire mindset, your whole personality, really. Ultimately, after years and years, it affects your personality. So the beginning of that avodah is to know yourself, to know what to reckon with. Okay, so I had this post from Rabbi Markel that I wanted to speak about how you identify where your area that you're supposed to work in. I think it says there's something about if you find yourself falling, look where the places where you're drawn to when you're falling spiritually. And that's the thing that's driving you in a negative sense. So find the flip side. I mean, that's what's implied there. That's the inference there. From that, that's what I understood from it. So if you recognize when you're walking down, firstly, it's nice to have a clear path in the forest. I wanted to actually give the idea of a very dense forest, but I wanted to say there's a clearing in that. So it's significant. Notice there's a clear path, and that has the idea of going on the right path. Because when you're fueled with the idea that there's not just a bird flying over shoulder, but birds, it says, this machlekes when angels were created. Was it on the second day or the sixth day when birds were created or whatever? Is it the lights that represent angels, or is it birds? Is that what the machlekes there is? Good morning. So, Menachem, clear pathway, a bird flies over shoulder. You have a besherter. I know who your besherter is because I had, right? I'm their shadchan. Awesome couple. They like, everyone just admires, right? So I have that schus, right? I had a clear pathway and that vision of seeing these two people together. That's an incredible gift to have effect on people's lives. It's incredible. So if you have a clear pathway, if you're guided by, what's the force for that that's driving it? I like to describe it as walking with these fiery lions, but really what it is your besherter, okay? I have a source in the Zohar for this. Okay, it's a long Zohar, and I love it so much that I don't want to just try and botch a translation of it. I'm going to actually try and read a translation. I brought the original with me in case we have to do research, which doesn't happen really. Okay, I'm trying to turn this off. It doesn't really happen on the fly, unless I have my Sfarim open, ready. It's not going to fly, but I have this English translation, which I usually don't like to use this one, because it's a bit like metaphysical for me, which I like metaphysics, but it gets into that language without bringing it down one step further and try and make you relate to things, which I mean, that's our language. We don't speak. How many people are philosophical, deeply philosophical, know all the terms? Do you know what an effluence is? If someone had a divine effluence, would you want to stay away from them or what? Okay. I made myself laugh. Guilty. Someone told me I'm stupid because of that. An old man, old cousin. Because I laugh at my own jokes, I'm stupid. That's what he told me. That was a nice way to be welcomed in Grand Heights. But whatever. People are people. Take them for who they are. So who is your besherter? Hopefully you're married to that person. But if you're too young for that, you have a besherter somewhere. If you're too, I don't know if you've haven't found the person yet, you have such a person. Your shleimus is dependent upon it. Your completeness. If you want to be a whole person, you have to have this. With Mashiach, I believe, I haven't found a direct source for this, except the 15th of Av. Those sikhs seem to be clearly saying there is going to be this coupling of people with their soulmates in a real way. And it's going to happen on the greatest holidays of the Jewish people. That's the celebration. Okay, I read some spiritual interpretations of what it means, the basulis and all that. Okay, that's fascinating. But we're going to talk about this primordial snake now. That's not actually the main topic of it. The main topic is when one goes away on a business trip. Okay, we all go on business trips, like 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there in our day. We're away, we're preoccupied with ourselves and what we're drawn to if we're in a weak mode, as we said before. And people are drawn to different things. Not everybody is, I don't know what. Everyone is different. So check out these words. The serpent was subtle. What's the word it uses in Torah? He was arum. Naked, it also means, right? Same word. It's interesting. He was subtle, he was crafty, he was shrewd. After the man had addressed all these words of the woman, the evil inclination awoke, prompting him to seek to unite with her in carnal desire, and to entice her to things in which the evil inclination takes delight, until at last the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was delight for the eyes, and she took of the fruit thereof and ate, giving ready admission to the evil inclination, gave also unto her husband with her. Why did she give her husband? Drag him down? ABT, all but thesis for PhD in philosophy. I'm lost in this, okay? I can't talk about PhDs now. So she gives her husband. Come on, there's 14 people here. We can do so much right now. Come on, guys. Focus. 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 Right? Use the power. Okay, check this out. It was she now who sought to awaken desire in him. Okay? She was stricken with desire. So she had to have an object of that desire. Guess who she chose? The only guy around. He happened to be quite attractive. He glowed, that's not a word, glowed like the sun, or more than the sun. He dimmed the sun. That means he was brighter than the sun. Okay, whatever that means to you. I've spoken about the sun at length. Okay, look up about 4 months ago. And okay, this account shows the proceedings of human beings after the model of those above. Said Rebbe Azar, if so, what are we to make of the evil inclination seizing the female above? What does it mean above? Does that mean like that we spoke about above? I don't think so. I don't know. He said, it has already been observed that one set, left and right, you have to have both, right? You have to have a shleimus, is above and one below. Okay, he was talking about in heaven. There's two sets of you. You, your Besherter, and your spirit, your soul, and your Besherter's soul. Okay? That is the left and right, Chesed and Gvura, and you in two main levels, heavenly and worldly. You have this coupling. Okay? One is physical and one is spiritual. And this is the most incredible idea. And this is the Kabbalistic secret of the universe. Okay, I'm not a Makubal. I'm not going to, just because I wear sunglasses doesn't make me Makubal. The light was shining in here so bright, I felt dazzled by the mystical glow of the whole scene. Because I'm like, my head is in this Zohar now, okay? When do you get to digest a Zohar like that? This is a decent translation. I enjoyed that. Four souls. No, 2 souls, 2 bodies, basically. The soul has 2 aspects. So yeah, you're right. There's 3 aspects of the person. There's six unions. No, there's 2 unions. Adam told her that if she even touched the fruit, she would die. Sure, this was a fence, but it was also a lie. That rhymed. Astonishing. I can't like push back my hair anymore, right? My mother used to do that to me when I was 5 years old. I remember. I want to bless Grandpa and Grandma, and like we'd have like a prayer together, and that was my foundational moment of consciousness. Maybe, probably not, but of a belief in God. Just not even in morality; it's beyond morality. Just that there is another way to look at consciousness, like there's God. Okay, so you have this duo unions. Okay, that's like a, yeah, above and below. You got Maras Machpelah, the doubled cave. There's one set, you have a shleimus at each level. You have left and right is above it and one below. Vis-a-vis, the good inclination, the evil inclination. The good inclination on the right and the evil inclination on the left. Okay, don't feel bad if you say like, oh, now I'm a woman, so therefore I'm left, and therefore I'm evil. Chava here was evil. Because we're going to say at length that each person has both aspects. Okay, so don't be jealous. Okay, then we have to quote Shir Shirim just to make us maddened with ecstasy, okay? The left above seizes the female to join with her in the body, as it is written. This is explaining how the evil inclination overcame Chava. Oh, so I was going to say before, so don't feel bad, because, for example, I'm a Levi. And a Levi also is the Gevura side. So do I feel like someone telling me I'm evil because I'm Levi? Because I'm Kerach, Zaidi Kerach? My father has a thing. He feels that we come from Zaidi Kerach. He traces the lineage back to Kerach. So the Levi is also feminine in this respect. It's Gvura, it's Tfilah, it's Malchus, it's David Malach. If that's too effeminate for you, okay. Everyone shares, like we're one family, so you don't ever be jealous of another gender or role. That's just stupid. Understand what role God wants of you. Let me read this long post. Right and left in Kabbalah have nothing to do with gender, right? Because here we're going to talk about how each person is both. And it says that explicitly in this translation, and that's, I would probably even dress it up a little bit more. They have to do with whatever one is bestowing soul or retaining soul. Retaining. It's a kleta. You would identify receiving with retaining. It's a kleta. The nukva is kleta. I like that. I think that's a good translation. Retaining. I got to remember that. Maybe I'll start translating it that way rather than receiving. But what's wrong with receiving? It doesn't retain when it receives? I'm not sure. I'm not convinced 100%. In this way, the passage can be interpreted as applying both above and below. The rest of the points are not at all recondite, if you like that word, and a child almost could elucidate them. And the colleagues have noted them. That was Rebbe Elazar. So you know the rest, what I'm talking about. So I don't have to spell it out for you, he's saying. Reb Shimon was once going to Tveria, a company. Now that wasn't the part that I wanted to talk about. That's the premise for what I wanted to talk about. Okay, now you get other chachamim. Rabbi Shimon was once going to Tiberias, Tveria, accompanied by Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Chia. On the way, he saw Rabbi Pinchas coming towards them. When they met, they dismounted and sat down under a large tree. Said Rabbi Pinchas. They say Phineas. I would be insulted to be called Phineas. That's like that weird show when I was growing up. Like Finnegan? No, don't translate it. Pinchas. Now that I am sitting here, I should like to hear some of those wonderful ideas to which you give daily utterance. Okay, give daily utterance to wonderful ideas, and you'll be worthy of this Zohar. Reb Shimon thereupon opened a discourse with the text, and he went on his journeys from the south even unto Bethel, unto the place where his tent was at first, between Bethel and Ai. He said, the word journeys is used here where you might have expected journey in the singular, to indicate that the Shekhinah was journeying with him. So there's a variation in the verse to indicate that in each journey, every time you leave a place, your home, as we're going to see, you're accompanied with a truer aspect, not a more important aspect, but a truer and more significant. Okay, that means important. A truer and more internal, pneumistic. From the other perspectives, you always have two perspectives. It's from your perspective, what is your job, and what does God want? God wants it manifest ultimately in the lowest realm. So your relationship with your Besherter in the physical world is most important to God. And if you want to have devotion to God, you have to realize that in the physical world. You can't just say, I'm a Jew at heart. You have to practice it. Usually, if you really feel in your heart, then it's going to lead to practice. So that's a devotion from us. From God's perspective, he wants, getting it mixed up. From God's perspective, he wants to live in the world, in the physical. But from our perspective, we want to connect to Hashem in a perfect way always. So sometimes we're away from home. Therefore, that's an aspect of us that's spiritual. Because we take the Shekhinah, our Besherter comes with us in a spiritual form. And we're going to see that you shouldn't take that lightly. It's actually how much more so that it should be something that gets your attention. I don't know exactly the phrase that it uses. We'll see. The word journeys here is used here. It's a plural, in other words, to indicate that Shekhinah was journeying with him. I think it's talking about Abraham. I'm not sure. It is incumbent on a man to be ever male and female. There we said it flat out in this translation. I think it means Zachar and Nukva. It is incumbent on a man to be ever male and female. A man is shleimus. It's a wholeness, which means you have to have both sides intact in you. So when you leave, physically you're alone. You don't have a woman, your wife, your Besherter with you in the physical sense. So you don't have that physical completion, which is embodied by the Shabbos, okay? Because it's going to teach here, if we get to that far, that the sages would leave their homes, basically, at least figuratively. They wouldn't be with their wives, basically, for a week, because they'd be devoting themselves to spiritual pursuits. And their wives would want that. I mean, look at Rachel, the wife of Rabbi Akiva, and see the devotion that they had for their husband's ability to pursue God. Particularly expressed, especially in Rachel and Rabbi Akiva, in the idea of her pride in his Torah study. So there's journeys that spiritual people would make away from their wives, usually throughout the week. On Shabbos was a time that says here that they want to give pleasure to their wife and sort of look back. You know, there's an aloofness, and then there's the drawing of the attention. Shabbos is the drawing of the attention towards the physical and elevating it thereby. But when you go on a journey, now we're talking about journeying, okay? So here you have to know that when you're on a journey, you have perfect integrity, which means you have shleimus, you have wholeness, and integrity has to be expressed when you're away. We spoke about the dove eyes enticing the husband to never go anywhere else. There's only one mate to this dove because of her attention towards him. It says there that if a woman has good eyes, you need not look any further. If her eyes are beautiful, you need not look any further. You can assume that her body is also attractive to you. You don't have to look there. So that also expresses this idea of integrity in places where it's inappropriate. So a gaze, the dove eyes is a gaze eye to eye. It's a deep connection. So that deep connection might be expressed in different ways for different people, but it has an image, it resonates at a level. And it should resonate with every single person. So when a person's going away, when their attention's diverted from the rest of the body because they're entranced by the eyes, their devotion, the single focus is that knowing the clarity of which path you're traveling on in the forest, right? And you have this bird over a shoulder. You have this spiritual connection to your B'Sherter with you then. This is the thing that I've been living with, I'm telling you, for like a long time now, months, with this idea, and here's the source. It is incumbent on a man to be ever male and female in order that his faith may be firm and that the Shekhinah may never depart him. What then you will say of a man who goes on a journey and being absent from his wife is no longer male and female? His remedy is to pray to God before he departs on his journey. While he is still male and female, when he's together at home with his wife, and he's male and female now in the spirit, in the physical sense, his prayer in that environment is what gives him the strength. In other words, the connection, the integrity he has in his relationship, and the expression of that through actual prayer. Also, obviously. So his prayer in that environment, that gives him the power to take her with him on his journeys when they're not together. When there's a fence of roses. Okay, look that up. In order to draw to himself the presence of his master. His master here, I think, is talking about the Shekhinah. Okay, I don't know what else it's talking about. We're talking about the Shekhinah, no? We'll see. It will become more clear, okay? It says his master. His remedy is to pray to God before he starts on his journey while he is still male and female, and here it means in the physical sense, in order to draw to himself the presence of his master. But look how it describes that. When he has offered his prayer and thanksgiving, and the Shekhinah rests upon him, then he can depart. He takes on a spiritual strength of him maintaining the perfection of his intimacy when now there's a fence of roses. It could be in physical distance. It could be in spiritual distance. Like the story where the Medrash, when it talks about the Kala, when they just got married, the man spent a lot of money, it says there, on the wedding, and now he finds out that his wife, now his Kala, is Nida, I'm not sure exactly how to say, but she becomes unavailable to him with a fence of roses, a red rose. She presents to him a red rose. They have this discretion, the way they communicate, this beauty to talk about things with, in a subtle way. They weren't, their attention to sensitivity through language was something that was important and was poetic even. So that's the fence of roses that's here being spoken about in terms of physical distance, when someone goes on a real road trip. But he takes the Shekhinah with him in virtue of his prayer in the environment of his physical intimacy, or in the household where that takes place. He has become male and female in the country as he was male and female. In the town, just 1 second, that was a bit hard to read. Then he can depart, for through his union with the Shekhinah, he has become male and female. So his davening brought the Shekhinah upon him. And now when he journeys, he takes that male and female with him. In the country, as he was male and female. In the town, as it is written, righteousness, tzedek, the female of tzaddik, it says here, shall go before him and shall place his footsteps on the way. Tehillim. Observe this. All the time that a man is on his travels, he should be very careful of his actions. And this is talking about the fence of roses in terms of his personal integrity. If you feel distant from your wife, let's say physically, that's obviously not a good enough reason. Emotionally, that's probably also not a good enough reason. But how should a person, if he perceives himself in that environment, that challenge, what should he take into account? All the time that man is on his travels, he should be very careful of his actions in order that the celestial partner, that's a beautiful way to say it, may not desert him and leave him defective. If he lacks integrity when he's away from her, he loses the spiritual energy, the Shekhinah, that he takes with him. He takes her spiritual existence with him. And that, in virtue of that spirituality, her spiritual part of her soul basically coming with him, he is whole. And he takes the Shekhinah with him. Okay, that's really awesome. Okay, through lacking the union with the female, that would be a defection. A defect rather. That would be a defect in him. If he pushes away his spiritual partner, his Besherter's soul coming with him on this journey to give him power to feel the Shekhinah with him, as it should be, because a man has to have the shleimus in all areas. He's got to have Bias Mashiach coming, the Nitzitz Mashiach has to be revealed to him, and he's going to be sitting on the throne of his own household. He's going to be master of his own household in the sense that he's going to have the shleimus, and every person, female also, is going to have an aspect of this. It's just manifests in different ways in the world. That's why you have to have a male king sitting on the throne in Jerusalem. So in terms of how it appears in the physical expression on a halachic level, it has to be a man. But it exists spiritually, because here we say that each person, each Adam, is male and female, and if not, that is a defect. It's very severe terms here about the importance of this. If this was necessary with his wife, when his wife was with him, how much more so it is necessary when a heavenly partner is attached to him. The Zohar draws a kal v'chomer. Okay, remember, the Zohar is coming from a spiritual perspective. It's not talking about God's purpose in the world, but rather how you relate to God is the focus here. You relate to God in a spiritual way. You're trying to spiritualize yourself. You say, God, you're infinite. I'm finite because I'm physical. It represents my being finite, and therefore I want to make myself more spiritual so that I could get out of my body and take my physical experience with me to a spiritual, to a more all-encompassing, a deeper level. But it draws on the physical, because that's the ultimate expression of pleasure and happiness, is when you have the shleimus in all aspects. And since we're worldly, we're drawn to that. So it becomes a model for our own spirituality, is what drives us towards physicality. That becomes the fuel for it. And it's actually the pathway, as I spoke about earlier from Rabbi Michael's post, from the Alter Rebbe. But I didn't quote it there because my iPad wasn't set up properly, sorry. I just wanted to get into the Zohar, because this is the source I've been looking for so long. And now I don't know what to write about for my editorial again, which is a geschmack feeling. You have to condense the things that fascinate you, because you only have one mouth, basically. Just a little bit more, maybe. It's still early, thank God. I'm not reading all these texts now, not because I don't want to, not because I don't even want to interrupt myself, but because it's hard for me to read small print. I have to go up close, and then it's too. You got to put on your 3D glasses then. Okay, should we go weiter? Weiter gegangen. if this was necessary when his wife was with him, physically, that you have to show integrity. It says here, be very careful of his actions. It doesn't say exactly what. But the result is that his celestial partner will leave him. So I'm thinking it's talking about like he's away from his wife. He might feel lacking, therefore he's going to look elsewhere. And it could be, it doesn't have to be, he goes a million miles away. He can go to the wrong place in his computer. Okay? How do you think people think about people online? Not as people, but rather as just aspects of their computer. And they don't care if it turns into AI. Nobody will care. Because that's how superficial it is. So here it's speaking about the integrity that you have to have when you're going away. When you look into a screen and the screen is away, if it represents going away but not something that you're proud of, not something that you would say, you know what? That's who I am. That's something that I take pride in. I'm proud of all my relationships. So here we're saying how much more so it's important that the spiritual aspects of your relationship is respected when one's away. So the integrity to the spiritual aspect, in other words, the deeper connection that you have on a soul level, the part of you that's, you are really one at that level. Just one represents certain aspects, the other. Like, you're like a yin yang. That's one. If this was not, okay, how much more so when you're talking about a heavenly partner attached to him, it says here. All the more so since this heavenly partner guards him on the way. So not only is it spiritual and therefore important, here maybe we're defining what that means. Because that's a power available to him that he could draw on. Here, because I was saying that before, but I didn't remember exactly what it is. Here it spells it out. All the more so since this heavenly partner guards him on the way all the time until he returns home. When he does reach home again, it is his duty to give his wife pleasure. It is duty this for two reasons. One is that this pleasure is a religious pleasure. You think Judaism is not into recognizing the importance of the other and identifying with them and bonding with them in ways that they can relate to and speaking their love language? Here's a source in the Zohar that's saying our religion is founded on this. That's why when the husband comes home, he wants to pleasure his wife because it's a religious pleasure, it says here. And one which gives joy to the Shekhinah also. It's not just religious to be physical with your wife, but it resonates in the divine level. That the Shekhinah is engaged in the sense that it's like happy. Okay, I don't know what that means. But it gives joy to the Shekhinah. And what is more? By joy to the Shekhinah means joy to the other. The precious. What you care about. Right? The source for what you care about, rather. That's important to make that departure from the thing to the creator of the thing. That's the Shekhinah. The Shekhinah is what makes that thing important, so how it fits into the puzzle. It's the feminine aspect, it's the object of desire. God wants to live there, and God does live there when the Shekhinah is happy. Okay, today's Yom speaks all about health. To me, health and happiness really, because the core of health is facus, it's ecstasy. People don't know that, but maybe Olympians know that. Be a spiritual Olympian and start with the foundation of a healthy body and mind. Start with that. Know yourself to be able to heal yourself. Look in today's Yom and the sources that it draws there. I think it was Tes Vav, or Tes Zayin rather, or Sivan. Tes Zayin Sivan or Tes Vav Sivan. I think that Yom it expels it, like especially in Yom Avor. Okay? Oh, and what's the effect of this? What's more so that the effect of this is he spreads peace through the world when he gives pleasure to the other, to the Shekhinah, to his wife. As is written, thou shalt know that thy tent is in peace, and thou shalt visit thy fold and not sin. It says in Eov, verse 24, I don't know, V24. Is it a sin, it may be asked, if he does not visit his wife? The answer that it is, because he thereby derogates, made something derogating, Is that a word? Something derogative, rather. From the honor of the celestial partner who is joined with him on account of his wife. The other is that if his wife becomes pregnant, the celestial body imparts to him a holy child, etc. So we should all have productive relationships. Okay, where does it say about being master of your home? Here it is. I think. Oh, it goes on. It's really. You know what? I want to continue this maybe tomorrow. Oh, here it is. I don't know. I'm tired. That's how this share ends with I'm tired. It's not like an official share. I sit for 1 hour and give a share, in which case I have to perform this much time. Volunteering has its benefits. So I promised to speak about Master of the Home. You know what? That was from the Markel thing that I couldn't find on the fly. And maybe now that I'm like done, chill out by looking it up. It's not gonna happen though because I can't get connected right now. Maybe it's on my screen. I have a lot of his things right here actually. Here, is this it? I got so many things that I put of his today that I just like one. Maybe this is his page I'm on, which is not as good because I choose the ones that I want to speak about. Okay, this is his page. Here it says your soul longs to daven. That's beautiful. Here it says, merely by way of your own service itself, you'll never be able to climb to an unreachable truth. Guess you need a gift from above? I don't know. Okay, guys. I don't know why I'm getting tired, but maybe it's because I spoke for 45 minutes or so. It was a really nice topic to end on, but it just goes on and on. Okay, it talks about the thing that I mentioned about they would leave their wives to learn tarot every week throughout the week. And then it speaks about the fence of roses, but in more direct terms, and how that's the same thing. Okay. Then it says when Rivka went into the tent, it was Sarah's mother, because the Shekhinah came to Yitzchak's house. That's what it means. Okay. I gave a previous interpretation. I don't remember what I said right now, but here's the Zohar's interpretation. The Shekhinah was there. Esoterically speaking, the supernal mother is found in company with the male only at the time when the house is prepared and the male and female are joined. Then the supernal mother pours forth blessings for them. And it just goes on and on this topic. I could keep going, it's just incredible. There's two levels, the lower, okay, we spoke about that many times. I don't know, maybe tomorrow. The voice of Yaakov, which is in the Torah, is thus attached to two females in this inner voice, which is inaudible, and to this outer voice, which is heard. Strictly speaking, there are two which are inaudible and two which are heard. The two which are not heard, first, the supernal wisdom, which is located in thought and not disclosed or heard, and secondly, the same wisdom when it is issued and discloses itself a little in a whisper, which cannot be heard, being then called the great voice, which is very tenuous and issues in a whisper. There's a whisper available to us. There's a voice that we can't hear because it's beyond us. But there's a voice that comes to us in a whisper. That's the two voices. We have a voice. The reason why I thought that stood out to me right now is because that's how I came across this idea. As a very practical, psychological experiment. I've spoke about this maybe 3 months ago, something like maybe 3 months ago maybe. It's about the idea of having an inner dialogue where you just have a voice of someone or expressing ideas that reflect such care and love. Okay? That sounds corny to some people maybe. I don't know. I'm not that cynical. I think that's so beautiful. If your inner voice is always telling you, instead of saying, I'm waiting for you to slip on the floor, because there are people like that. I know, because I feel it. And yeah, I'm an empath. Okay. Put that on my, what's it called? Credentials. I'm an empath. So some people want you to slip and fall on the banana. There's people who, like the kids sing songs about the teacher slipping on banana peel. They're somehow humorous. Someone falls on their face. So let's say I'm right in the effect of it, and I'm wrong about the spiritual truth of it. Chas v'shalom. I mean, that's a source. I just gave you a source. I never had a source before. To me, it was just a psychological, like, no-brainer, self-help idea. Then instead of having the voices and anxiety of the people that you encounter in the world and people who developed your consciousness, like your siblings and your parents, mostly them and your loved ones throughout the years. A dark joke, I don't know, dark humor has to be understood. Some people are not in tune with that, and therefore they might miss it. Schadenfreude. That's a nice Germanic word that I don't understand really. Schadenfreude. Fear of, no, Freud, I guess laughing from Schadenfreude. Okay, German language is gonna throw me off right now. So instead of having a voice that always doubts, that's the Amalek side that we have to uproot. Why would we have a mitzvah to uproot a race? What we're into, what's it called? Racial cleansing? That's really my religion. No, it's not about racial cleansing. It's an idea. Those people embodied evil, okay? If God told us who embodied evil today, yes, we'd probably look like those Mishagoyim. Chas v'shalom. We wouldn't talk like that. We'd still be kind about it. I mean, we weren't these barbarians going out to war. We were people that wore tefillin and talesim, probably. I know we wore tefillin. I imagine they had talesim also. We were going, how could you do that? You wear tefillin when you're going out to war when you can't control your body? Because they were not fighting with their own bodies. It was Shemish Melchama. They had the crazy, insane, divine madness. And I have a source from this. That's historical fiction. Okay, it's not terror-based. And Claudius, in the second part, Claudius the Getchka, Claudius the G-O-D. It speaks there about King Herod the Lesser, who thought he was Mashiach. What was I talking about? Okay, I lost my train of thought. That's because I'm tired. Oh, yes. It speaks there, okay, Tiberius, one of the guys that came before King Herod was in power, or maybe one of the later weirdos, had this idea. He was describing, I think it was actually Claudius himself, he was describing that he learned from his research, right, in the area of diplomacy and all this, that Jews fought with such madness of the holy to borrow from Meir Abasara, right? When didn't he say that? Didn't the Rebbe encourage him to focus on that? Which is hard to understand. I heard Matisyahu once said, we got to have more madness. And I was like, what? Madness is destructive. It's illness. It's horror. Maybe this is, if you want to malamet schus on the idea, maybe this is the madness that we're talking about. That to fight against, to uproot the cynicism with the fighting like a warrior that is just possessed with but I got the idea that these were not like these berserker rage guys, but rather the very disciplined, godly, beautiful, what do they call it? Budo, martial arts. Right? What could be more beautiful than watching people possessed by pure godliness kill their enemies? But what does that mean? That's not what we do now, right? Judaism doesn't go out killing people. So we fulfill that spiritually by finding the parts in us that doubts. And when we do that, I'm telling you what your inner dialogue is going to be. It will be, I'm walking down the stairs now to dive into the mikvah before you, God. Then you hear a voice saying, I'm watching you, I'm right with you, that is awesome, you're everything to me. Why? Because who says that? If you were king, what would you deny yourself? If you were king of the universe, what would you deny yourself? God loves your soul. God loves you. Budokan. God loves the Jew, the soul, the person, more so than even the soul. The person, which is a soul in a body. That aspect of you is the most conscious aspect of you. That's what God loves the most. So imagine that every step you take. I like to think when I'm walking down the mikvah, okay? The steps, I've spoken about it, written about it, but each step is like, I'm walking before you now, God. So now that's something important to God, because God happens to like the purity associated with mikvah, and you're supposed to submit yourself, because it says Tefillah Eiseis Habitul. I think it says that when you immerse yourself, the same letters in Hebrew mean submission before God. So I like to totally, in the base of English, they would prostrate themselves with their hands, their arms extended and their legs extended, probably their toes and fingers extended too, and that's the ultimate expression. Leonardo da Vinci did it, as more of to illustrate how we fit in a circle, how we could extend our body. He put us in more of a star shape, which also I think is very expressive of the idea of what a sun just radiates. So like a soul shines like the sun. And to God, this is like a precious thing. So our tefillah, and that becomes God's crown jewels, literally. Look in Kunjas of Veda when it speaks about that. It gives sources from Kabbalah. Okay, now I'm going to read these things because I'm just out of energy. Sorry, everybody, for being human. Give me protein pills or something. Keep going. Okay, I think I read most of them up high. Let's see, this one's lower. He could have trusted God and had him make him another one. I don't know what this is talking about. The snake did not lie. The snake did not lie. Oh, yes, didn't he? I don't know what you mean by that. Adam told her, oh, that's because, okay. Sure, this was a fence, but it was also a lie. Oh, so you're saying that it was Adam's lie. A female trope? I don't know. I don't even know the word trope, to be honest. Man caves, feminine, masculine. Okay, nice. Right and left in Kabbalah have nothing to do with gender. Okay, good. We said that it means shleimus. It means completion. God said to Moshe at the burning bush, take off your shoes, for the ground upon which you are standing is holy ground. It was the fact that Moshe was standing there that made the land holy. Really? Wow. That I never heard. I've seen things almost the opposite. Sort of. As in, wherever you go, I shall go also. Mark Rivkin, wow. Awesome to see you here. The blessing of God does not rest upon anything that is not at the same time male and female. Zohar, psychological, physiological, half of our chromosomes are female, and that we receive that from our mothers and half are male, because we receive them from our father. Also, women are born complete, but a man is not complete until he marries. I'd like to see a source for that. Where does that idea come from? The energy of the Shekhinah, her essence of presence, comes with, yes, beautiful words. Man can also have shleimus with the spiritual connection of the nekeva. Yes, that's what it's talking about here. And I've seen that also written, which I can't find the source again, because I'd love to quote it directly and translate it. It speaks about Or Zerua Latzadik, the idea of light, spirituality, God, divinity, is planted for the tzaddik, meaning he always has a nukva with him. Okay, this is a good source, or maybe this is the source. This Shekhinah, it speaks here though about how you make sure that it stays there. That's, I think, the point here mostly, is that you have to integrity when you feel like you're away, when you're master of the home. Well, what did we say that meant? That's when you know yourself, right? So be there, be present in your relationships. Be present. Care about the other person. That's why the husbands came home on Shabbos to pleasure their wives. Care about the other person. That's the secret. That's the point of knowing yourself. You'll be present when you know yourself, because you'll know what to bring into the presence of another person. Good relationships. I have noticed in graveyards that usually the man dies first. When the woman dies first, the man inevitably falls within a couple of years. Okay, that's a bit morbid, but maybe it's true, and it's a dark joke. Shadow joy. Placing the bad news of others. Daich, yes. Ethnic cleansing. Abbas said the Palestinians are Canaanites. So, okay, go on about Herod. Fought with madness of the holy, that's novel. Fought with madness of the holy, that's novel. Mayor loved madness of the holy, it's the key for him. I'd like to read that, maybe. I never read any of his stuff. Whispering madness of the holy, masculine and feminine. Those are beautiful words, too. Okay, 5 people still hanging out with the guy who's like just chilling out. Now I'm like, I'd like to be in a lawn chair for like 10 minutes and read a Kurt Vonnegut novel. And then I'll say, okay, I did that. I was 17 again. That's what got me off the Israel Dimensions trip. That kind of attitude that I needed to mature from. Okay, that wasn't a good way to come home. When you come home, you pleasure the people around you. You bring joy to people. You have to be yourself, obviously. But if you see that there's so much friction, at least question if yourself is the self that you should be. Look inside, know yourself. And then if you do come up to friction, know that you're swimming against the flow, and it's probably going to make you stronger. And the litmus test of if you're on the right path, succeed or not. Okay, I brought sources for that the other day. I'm too tired to get my encyclopedia out now. Okay. Master the home. I didn't focus on that so much. It was a nice way to bring you in. So thank you again. Part of the ceremonial part, because it's important to me to know that I could not, I wouldn't learn like this without you. Oh, I did for a bit. I was getting into it actually, but I just, you know what happened? I just had this desire to bring with people or teach people. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to go until I said, you know what? I saw this guy, Jason Silva. It was awesome. He just taught. I mean, the truth is, even though he's a Yid, so I shouldn't speak bad about him. I find it not something that's compelling me to go there right now, because I find that a lot of his ideas repeat themselves, and I don't find any too much building upon them. Maybe it's because he focuses on certain ideas that he thinks that will draw people in more. I don't know. But to me, I don't like to say a thing twice. I feel guilty when I repeat myself. I feel guilty because there's other things that we could talk about. The Torah is so vast. I guess the unfolding of today's science has limitations. You don't know whether you're right until you do a study, and that study takes years, sometimes decades. So the Torah has all the knowledge there. You know it's true. You could just fly through ideas. It's totally beyond science, I'm telling you. Okay, so we were likening the Zohar to the year 6666, the number of the opposite of the beast. Whatever that might be. Isn't that the year that the my nice time we're going to come out, these well springs, the depths are going to just pour out, and you have the waters above, the flood waters of above and below. So you have spiritual madness coming out like in mad, incredible ways about Shem Tov, the Alter Rebbe. And then you have an industrial revolution fueled by science and exploration and physics and everything, discovery. What's it called? Discovering the world. Okay. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you. With apologies to Menachem Fire, whispering madness, the joy of the holy, men and women together. What is that a quote from? We think Hashem has abandoned us, but when all is revealed, we will find that his locks are wet with the dew of the night. You gotta put sources. These are important things if they're sources. The dew of the night. I spoke about locks before. That he has been looking at us through the lattice work of our souls all the while. Good day to you. That was awesome. Thank you.